Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're looking at Jinshen Kushu.
It's JSK.
Oh, JSK, right.
Yeah.
It seems to be getting more and more popular as a martial art, especially for seniors.
Yeah, particularly its self-defense applications.
Likely.
We've got a ton of articles, notes,
Yeah.
all about Greg Fraser.
Grandmaster Greg Fraser.
Right, the Grandmaster. And his approach to it also.
Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, so what are we really looking at here?
I think with this one, it's more than just the kicks and punches. It's this blend of martial arts with functional fitness. It creates a system that can be adapted to anyone, but we're going to be focusing on how it's been uniquely tailored for seniors.
Yeah, that's what I found really interesting as well. I mean, training elite athletes is one thing, but Greg seems to have really shifted his focus to helping seniors feel safer and more confident in themselves. He's even developing an online course to make this knowledge more accessible.
He's got a fascinating story, too. Over 30 years of experience training everyone from first-timers to, like you said, elite athletes. I mean, even bouncers and security professionals.
Wow.
And get this, he co-owned multiple gyms before becoming a mobile trainer.
Really?
Yeah, and now has his own unique solo facility.
So he went from like big multi-gym owner.
Yeah, down to just him, traveling around.
Wow.
Yep, working one-on-one, which really seems to have solidified his passion for empowering seniors.
Okay, so we're not just talking about a martial arts expert. We're also talking about somebody who's kind of a fitness innovator in his own right.
Yeah.
But you mentioned JSK being adaptable and uniquely tailored for seniors. What does that look like in practice?
So I think at its core, JSK is about redirecting and controlling an opponent rather than just relying on, brute force.
Right.
It blends elements from, Wing Chun, Aiki Jiu-Jitsu, even some MMA.
Oh, wow.
But it's not about the kicking and the punching. It's about efficiently subduing an opponent, often without having to cause severe harm. And this philosophy of control and even a sense of mercy really resonates with the seniors that he works with.
I can see why, because I think seniors, maybe more than anyone, are concerned about getting injured themselves, but also injuring, potentially, an attacker. So how does JSK, I guess, address that, or how does JSK account for kind of that perception of vulnerability?
So that's where the tailoring comes in. So Greg focuses on these joint-friendly techniques that are practical in real-life situations, things that can be done, even with age-related limitations, in strength or flexibility.
Okay.
Plus, there's strong emphasis on functional fitness for seniors, so things that improve balance and mobility, which can also be helpful in preventing falls and things like that.
So it's almost like a two-pronged approach. You're not only learning how to defend yourself if you need to, but you're also improving your overall physical function, which is going to make you less of a target in the first place. Exactly. It's about preparedness.
Yeah.
But it goes even deeper than that. One of the things I found really intriguing is how he teaches something he calls passive-aggressive footwork, which actually helps seniors project confidence.
Interesting.
And deter potential attackers just by the way they move.
So this passive-aggressive footwork, is it something that we've seen in other self-defense systems? Is it similar to something else, or is this something unique?
It's not really about being aggressive.
Okay.
It's more about moving with purpose and awareness. He actually has a technique called the swing step, which it sounds very simple, but it's a very versatile movement. It allows you to create distance, redirect an attacker's energy, and it helps you maintain your balance.
Which are all things that become more challenging, I would imagine, as we age.
Yes. Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot to manage.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who might be new to physical training or martial arts.
So how does he teach these concepts to seniors who may feel intimidated or overwhelmed by it all?
Well, that's where I think Greg's experience and adaptability really shine. He's incredibly mindful of breaking down these complex techniques into simpler steps and emphasizing those, small details that can really make all the difference. And remember, this is someone who's worked with people of all abilities and backgrounds. So he's really good at tailoring his teaching to each individual's needs.
That must take a lot of patience and understanding, especially working with seniors who might have preconceived notions about what they can or cannot do physically.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where this online course he's developing becomes really interesting because it's designed to make this knowledge accessible to a wider audience. breaking down those barriers and empowering seniors who might not have the opportunity for in-person training.
Yeah, that's a great point. It sounds like he's very passionate about reaching as many people as possible. But before we get into the specifics of the online course, I think it's important to pause and to address our listener directly. Why should you care about this?
I think that's an excellent question. It all comes down to, reclaiming a sense of control and confidence in a world that can often feel unpredictable, even threatening, especially as we age.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling of vulnerability,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's about, our physical abilities declining or just being like aware of the world around us.
It's that feeling of wanting to feel empowered, both physically and mentally, and knowing that you have options if you're ever in a situation where you need to protect yourself.
Right.
And what's great about JSK is that it's not just about reacting to danger, it's also about preventing it in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think
That's what makes it so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just like fighting techniques. We're exploring a whole philosophy of like movement and awareness and personal empowerment that can really transform the way that, seniors experience the world around them.
well said. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's circle back to JSK itself, Jingshen Kushu. What are some of the core principles that make it so effective? Particularly for seniors, I'm particularly curious about this passive-aggressive footwork and how it can help seniors deter potential attackers.
One of the key principles really is about using movement to your advantage. And that's where that passive-aggressive footwork comes in. Greg describes it as projecting an aura of, quote, "I'm not an easy target." Without being overtly aggressive, it's about using like confident movement and body language to deter, potential threats.
So instead of appearing vulnerable or hesitant, you're actually using your movement to project an air of confidence and awareness, which is going to make you like less appealing to someone who might be looking for an easy target.
Exactly. And it's not just about like walking with purpose, right? It's also about being aware of your surroundings, choosing like safe routes, and even making eye contact with people, as you pass them. It's about sending that message that like you're alert, you're in control, you're not distracted, you're not easily intimidated.
It's like you're taking back control of your space and you're projecting this aura of like, don't mess with me without having to say a word.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And what's great about it is that it can be applied in any environment, right? Whether you're walking down the street or you're navigating a crowded mall or even just getting out of your car in a parking lot. It's about cultivating that sense of awareness and confidence that can really make all the difference in deterring potential threats.
It sounds like this passive-aggressive footwork is almost like a foundation for everything else in JSK. It's a way of moving through the world with intention and awareness. But I'm curious, what if that deterrence fails and someone does attempt to attack? What kind of techniques does JSK offer for seniors in those situations?
Well, so Greg always stresses that fighting should be a last resort, but he also equips seniors with the tools to defend themselves if necessary. And a key element of that is de-escalation, using like verbal techniques to diffuse a tense situation.
So it's about trying to calm things down before they get out of control,
Right.
but also being prepared to act if you need to.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
Sure.
But Greg provides, clear strategies for, maintaining a safe distance, using, assertive but respectful language, and always looking for, escape routes.
It sounds like a lot to process in a high-stress situation.
It is. And that's why consistent practice is so important, right? It's about building that muscle memory for both the physical and the verbal techniques so that, you can almost react instinctively when needed.
This reminds me of something we touched upon earlier, this idea of a warrior mindset that Greg emphasizes.
Right.
Can you elaborate on what that means and how it plays into JSK training for seniors?
So it's not about aggression
Yeah.
or becoming some kind of fighting machine. It's about cultivating like mental preparedness, focus, and resilience.
So being mentally prepared for a challenging situation, even if you hope it never happens.
Precisely. And it involves, techniques like visualization exercises, positive affirmations, even breathing exercises to manage, like stress and anxiety. These are all things that you can practice anywhere, anytime. And they have benefits that extend, far beyond self-defense.
It's fascinating how all of these elements, the physical techniques, the situational awareness, the mental training, it all comes together to create this like truly holistic approach to self-defense for seniors.
That's what makes JSK so unique.
Hmm.
It's not just about learning to fight. It's about empowering seniors on multiple levels, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've explored the origins of JSK, Greg's unique approach to teaching, and how this martial art is specifically tailored to meet the needs of seniors.
Yeah,
But there's still so much more to uncover.
absolutely.
We were talking about how JSK can help seniors, develop a sense of agency and control. And it's not just about like the physical moves, it's about kind of a whole mindset shift.
Yeah, exactly. And this ties into something we touched upon earlier, this whole idea of using everyday objects for self-defense.
Right.
This is where that like practicality and adaptability we were talking about really shines.
Yeah, because it takes away that fear of needing special equipment or feeling like you have to be some kind of, martial arts master to defend yourself.
Precisely. Think about a cane, an umbrella, even a heavy book. Greg shows seniors how these seemingly like ordinary items can be used to block attacks, create distance, or even strike like vulnerable points if necessary.
So it's almost like a mental exercise too, right?
Yeah,
Like seeing the world differently and recognizing the potential in things that we usually just take for granted.
it is. And that's a key part of Greg's teaching. He wants seniors to feel empowered by the knowledge that, they can defend themselves with whatever's at hand.
Now, shifting gears a bit, a lot of the seniors I know are worried about travel safety.
Right.
Is that something that comes up in JSK training at all?
Oh, it absolutely does. In fact, Greg has a whole module on what he calls functional situational awareness in his online course.
Okay.
It's about being, alert and aware of your surroundings,
Yeah.
especially in unfamiliar places.
So it's not just about knowing what to do if someone attacks you. It's about, preventing that situation from even happening in the first place.
You got it. It's about being like proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah.
So Greg teaches seniors how to choose like safe routes, how to project an aura of confidence that can deter criminals, even, simple things like being aware of who's around you and making eye contact.
It sounds like those passive-aggressive footwork principles that we talked about earlier come into play here as well.
They do. It all ties together, right?
Mhm.
That confident walk, that sense of purpose, it makes you less of a target because you're not projecting that vulnerability.
It's fascinating how much body language plays into all of this.
It really does. And Greg doesn't
Mm.
stop there. He gives practical tips, like choosing well-lit areas, walking against traffic so you can see approaching cars, even varying your routines so you're not predictable.
So it's like a whole like travel safety checklist built right into JSK.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. Sometimes even with the best precautions, situations can escalate. How does JSK address those moments when, a physical confrontation might be unavoidable?
So Greg always stresses that fighting should be like the last resort.
Right.
But he also equips seniors with the tools to defend themselves if necessary. And a key element of this is de-escalation, using verbal techniques to kind of diffuse a tense situation.
So it's about trying to calm things down before they get out of control,
Right.
but also being prepared to act if you need to.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance. But Greg provides like clear strategies for maintaining a safe distance, using assertive but respectful language, and always looking for those escape routes.
It sounds like a lot to process in a high-stress situation.
It is. And that's why consistent practice is so important. It's about building that muscle memory for both, the physical and the verbal techniques, so you can react instinctively when needed.
This reminds me of something we touched upon earlier, this idea of a warrior mindset that Greg emphasizes.
Right.
Could you elaborate on what that means and how it plays into JSK training for seniors?
So it's not about, aggression or becoming like some kind of fighting machine. It's about cultivating mental preparedness, focus, and resilience.
So being mentally prepared for a challenging situation, even if you hope it never happens.
Precisely. And it involves, techniques like visualization exercises, positive affirmations, even breathing exercises to manage like stress and anxiety. These are things that, you can practice anywhere, anytime, and they have benefits that extend far beyond, self-defense.
It's fascinating how all of these elements the physical techniques, the situational awareness, the mental training, it all comes together to create this truly holistic approach to self-defense for seniors.
Yeah, that's what makes JSK so unique. It's not just about learning to fight. It's about empowering seniors on multiple levels, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
And speaking of empowerment, let's talk about that online course that Greg is developing. You mentioned earlier that it's designed to make this knowledge accessible to a wider audience. What are some of the key features that make it so innovative?
So Greg has chosen to use the school.com platform,
Okay.
which allows him a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah.
He's incorporating like interactive elements like quizzes and downloadable resources, breaking down those complex techniques into like short focused video lessons. And he's even offering like live Q&A sessions so learners can actually connect with him directly.
It sounds like he's really putting a lot of thought into like how to make online learning engaging and effective.
He is. And he's even using like gamification techniques like awarding points and badges for completing modules to keep learners motivated and track their progress.
That's smart. It taps into that sense of achievement and makes it, more fun to learn something that could potentially be, life-saving.
Exactly. But one thing that really struck me as I was, looking through the course materials is it's not just about like the technical aspects of self-defense. Greg's also, weaving in those mindfulness practices, breathing exercises, and tips for managing, stress and anxiety that we are talking about earlier.
So he's really taking that holistic approach that we discussed and integrating it into every aspect of the course.
He is. And that's what makes this course so much more than just, another like self-defense program. It's about empowering seniors with tools and strategies that can benefit them in all areas of their lives, not just in the a potential self-defense situation.
Yeah, it sounds like a truly transformative experience. But before we get, too caught up in the excitement of the online course, I think it's important to acknowledge that, not everyone learns best in a digital environment.
You're absolutely right, and Greg recognizes that.
Okay.
While he's passionate about making this knowledge, as widely accessible as possible, he also understands the value of in-person training,
Yeah.
the unique benefits that it offers.
So even with the development of this innovative online course, it sounds like Greg is still committed to working with seniors one-on-one and providing that personalized instruction that can be so beneficial, especially for those who, might be new to self-defense or who have specific, physical limitations.
Precisely. And for those who do thrive in a group setting, he offers classes and workshops in his unique solo facility, which is designed to be, welcoming and accessible to seniors of all abilities.
It's wonderful that he's providing like multiple avenues for seniors to access this knowledge and empower themselves, whether it's through the online course or individual instruction or group classes. But beyond, the different learning formats, I'm curious about like the specific techniques that make Jingshin Koishu so effective for seniors. We talked about using everyday objects, but what are some of the like the core movements or principles that set it apart from other self-defense systems?
So one of the key principles is redirecting force. Instead of meeting force with force, which can be, difficult and even dangerous for seniors, JSK focuses on leveraging an attacker's momentum against them.
Okay, so could you give us an example of what that might look like in practice?
Sure. So imagine someone tries to grab your wrist. In JSK, you wouldn't try to pull away directly, which would just create like more tension and potentially injure your joints. Instead, you would use a small circular movement to kind of redirect their energy, creating an opening to escape or to counter.
So it's almost like using like their own force against them
Exactly.
rather than engaging in a direct like power struggle.
Exactly. And that's what makes JSK so effective for seniors. It doesn't rely on brute strength or speed, but rather on technique and precision and understanding how to leverage, your body mechanics to your advantage.
It sounds like it requires like a lot of finesse and control, which I imagine takes time and practice to develop.
It does, but that's also part of the beauty of JSK. It's a journey of self-discovery and empowerment that unfolds gradually over time as you gain confidence, refine your technique, and develop that warrior mindset we were talking about earlier.
And it's a journey that's accessible to anyone, regardless of their age, physical ability, or previous experience with martial arts.
Precisely. And that's what makes Greg's work so inspiring. He's breaking down barriers, he's challenging stereotypes, and he's showing seniors that, that they have the power to protect themselves and live with confidence no matter what life throws their way.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive, exploring, the practical applications of JSK for seniors, from using everyday objects for self-defense to developing situational awareness to mastering de-escalation techniques.
Right, yeah.
And we've delved into Greg's innovative online course, highlighting its, interactive features and holistic approach to self-defense training.
Absolutely.
And we've touched upon the core principles that make JSK so effective, emphasizing redirecting force, leveraging body mechanics, and cultivating that all-important warrior mindset.
Right.
We've explored the philosophy, the techniques, the online course, but I'm really curious to see what it looks like in action.
Right. You want to see how it translates to that real-world empowerment.
Yeah, exactly.
And one thing that really impresses me about Greg's teaching is this emphasis on breaking down these complex movements into like simple, manageable steps.
We've talked about that, like making it accessible for seniors who might have physical limitations or are new to this kind of training. But I'd love to hear a bit more about how that plays out, like in a teaching environment.
It's really about patience and attention to detail.
Okay.
Greg takes the time to explain like the mechanics of each movement, ensuring everyone understands like proper posture, alignment, weight distribution. He's a master at like using visual aids and demonstration.
But he really breaks it down.
He does.
Yeah.
To make the concepts, crystal clear.
It's almost like he's demystifying martial arts, making it practical and approachable for everyone, regardless of age or physical ability.
Exactly. And he's not afraid to repeat things.
Okay.
Right? To go over those basics until they become like second nature. That kind of repetition is key for building, muscle memory and confidence.
Right.
Especially for, seniors who might be learning these movements for the first time.
It's like you're building those solid foundations so that when you're in a stressful situation, you can react instinctively without having to kind of overthink it.
Exactly. And this focus on simplicity and repetition translates beautifully to the online learning environment as well. He structured the course with short, focused video lessons,
right,
that people can watch and rewatch at their own pace, mastering each step before moving on to the next.
That's a great point. It gives them the control to progress at a speed that feels comfortable for them,
right,
which I think is especially important for seniors who might be a little hesitant or intimidated by the idea of online learning.
Yeah, and he doesn't just rely on like video instruction.
Okay.
He's incorporated, interactive elements like quizzes and practice assignments and even downloadable resources that kind of reinforce those key concepts.
So it's not just passively watching.
Right.
It's active engagement.
Exactly. And he's even taking it a step further with a community forum where learners can connect, they can ask questions, share tips, and they can even post videos of themselves practicing the techniques.
Oh, wow.
It's brilliant because it creates this sense of like camaraderie and support that can be so valuable, especially for, seniors who might be learning from home and don't have that like in-person interaction.
It's like turning self-defense training into like a shared journey, fostering a sense of community and encouragement.
Yeah.
Which can make all the difference in terms of staying motivated and achieving those goals.
You got it. And it's clear that Greg is truly passionate about, reaching as many people as possible with his teachings. And that's why he's so excited about, the school.com platform, which offers that, incredible flexibility and creative options for online course development.
We've talked about, how he's utilizing those options to make the course engaging, interactive, but I'm curious about like the deeper elements that he's woven into the curriculum. We've touched upon the mindfulness practices and the importance of, that warrior mindset, but could you elaborate on how those concepts are actually presented in online course?
It's all about like integration.
Okay.
He doesn't just teach the physical techniques in isolation. He incorporates those like mindfulness exercises, breathing techniques, and strategies for managing like stress and anxiety right into the lessons.
So it's a holistic approach, recognizing that true self-defense goes beyond just like the physical moves. It's about mental and emotional preparedness as well.
Exactly. And this resonates deeply with the seniors he works with. They come to him feeling vulnerable, unsure of themselves, worried about their safety. But through JSK, they discover this newfound sense of confidence and strength and resilience that extends, far beyond the training hall or the online course.
So it sounds like it's not just about learning self-defense moves. It's about like a transformation that happens on a much deeper level.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what makes Jinshin Kouoshu so impactful. It's a pathway to empowerment and personal growth that can truly, change lives.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into Jingshin Koshu for seniors, I think it's important to take a step back and consider the bigger picture here. Why does this matter?
Yeah.
Why is it so crucial to empower seniors with these skills and this mindset?
Well, I think it's about challenging those like societal perceptions that often portray seniors as vulnerable or helpless. Jinshin Kouoshu flips that script.
Yeah.
It showcases the incredible potential that exists within each of us, regardless of age.
It's a powerful message of hope and resilience. And as we conclude our journey into the world of Jingshin Koshu, we want to leave you with this final thought.
Never underestimate your own strength, your capacity for growth, and your ability to navigate the world with confidence and purpose.
Mm.
And if you're looking for a path to unlock that potential, Jinshin Koshu might just be the key you've been searching for.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and keep exploring.